What's going on, guys? Episode 7 here, stand-up sales. We're chugging along. Got my handsome counterpart across the pond, David. How's it going, brother?
I'm still ill. I'm marginally less ill than last week, but the voice is still kind of husky, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. Let us know in the comments. Is this better or worse?
Yeah, it was almost as ill as that finals.
Why are we still on this? Listen, France lost in the end, so we came like what, like 6th or something? I don't fucking care.
No. I'm saying that was a wild. That was a wild.
Ill as in a good thing. So just a shitty
Yeah.
Americanism then. Oh, okay, fine. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
that,
that
that
game
was
was
a brilliant
insane.
World Cup. Yeah.
yeah, probably one of the best games I've seen. It
Yeah,
was
I haven't seen a World Cup that interesting in years.
Yeah,
Like since I was a kid, baby.
Mbappe was just refused to go
Used
down.
to lay down, yeah. But
I mean, he
completely
did everything
silent.
he could. He hit
Yeah.
4 goals essentially. His teammates. I was watching, like, I saw a thread on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, someone broke down the goalies thing. Like, here's how Emilio Martinez, who was able to say these things in 5 easy steps. Thread. I was like, what? People write threads on sports. And he was like kicking the ball, like all mental games,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. And that kind of brings us in, like, mental games and strategies into the topic of today's call, which is why prospects ghost you, and or why is your sales process and calls stalling out, which I feel like it's just a necessary evil of sales. But if you can, marginalize the error in how many people ghost you versus not ghost you, you'll be much more happy in your sales process.
Facts. I think the first thing we should say before we really get into this is if you're struggling with your sales process stalling out a lot, like fairly regularly, like you close at, let's say, less than 20%. Let's say you're sub 15 even, right? So this is a pretty lax. Yeah, that Dylan's dog is going to make a continual appearance throughout this episode of the podcast. He's a hungry boy and he's
on one. He's on one.
If you're like sub 15% on a regular basis, and I don't mean on the off months, the reason that your sales process is stalling out is there he is, first one of the day. Should have like a little like woof counter at the bottom in the bottom right corner of the screen. The reason that your sales call is probably stalling out is, in my mind, like one of 3 things. The first is because you haven't watched the previous 3 episodes of Stand Up Sales and you don't know how to run a good discovery and demo. And then the second 2 are kind of more like partially mental, partially like what you're doing on the sales calls at the very fine level nitty-gritty stuff, right? So like at the mental side, if you aren't confident in like your offer and what you sell, the likelihood is that people don't want to buy it because they don't believe in you, right? So that's a key thing. If you genuinely don't come across as competent, and that's not like being good at sales, it's not like knowing your offer, it's like, do I trust that this person in this moment can solve my problem? The likelihood is they aren't going to believe it and they therefore won't buy. That's the first thing. The second thing could very well be that like you are just ignoring a whole section of something that like we've brought up before, or you're just really bad at a certain thing, right? So you could be really bad at discovery and therefore you don't ask good enough questions that get you to pain points, right? You could be really bad at like pain point discovery, so like digging into those pain points. Equally, your pitch could be shit. There's so many different factors that it could be that are leading to your sales calls.
Or the prospect could just generally not like you.
Yeah, you could just be unlikable, and therefore...
Yeah, like if you come off a certain way, like obviously you probably talked more of this like psychology perspective. Is like people buy from people they like, and like if you're not, like if you're selling to a female, like you have to be a totally different version of yourself. Like you can't be like how you speak to like a CRO of a company who's like a macho guy, right?
Equally, if you're selling into a female CEO, fundamentally different from how you would sell into like a female anyone else, right? Like female CEOs tend to have, on average, more masculine traits, which means you kind of have to approach them like they're a dude. And if you don't, and you try and treat them like you would, quote unquote, very badly, a woman, you will fucking fireball that conversation.
Yeah.
Partly.
Yeah, so like that's a big thing. It's like if you just like you could do everything right and then just still come off kind of like an ass.
Yeah.
And like people are like,
Probably not him.
probably not him. Yeah. Unless you're selling something crazy like a Salesforce.
You can basically be whatever you want. And
Oh,
sell.
actually, one thing.
God, looping all the way back.
So we're going, yeah. So listen to your take on this. So I'm working with ZoomInfo. They're trying to get me off of Cognizant, right?
Okay.
Obviously, ZoomInfo is the gold standard of data, right? So this person, director of sales at ZoomInfo, and I've been talking with the account executive through text, and she goes, "Hey, Dylan, blank is on my team here at Zoom, and from my conversations with him, it sounded like our companies are close to partnering but haven't sealed the deal yet. He seemed quite confident we are moving forward, but I'll be the first to admit that sometimes reps can misinterpret buying signals. I'm curious if blank did something wrong,
Oh God.
or if there's anything that needs to be done on our end to ensure you're comfortable and confident in moving forward today. I hold my sellers to a high standard, but first and foremost want to make sure our customers are taken care of and we're not dropping the ball. Any feedback is appreciated. Blank and I have a pipeline review in a few hours and would like nothing more than to bring you on board. Thanks again, Dylan."
Oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah, I felt
That's
it was
terrible.
I felt
Why
it
would
was
you?
bad.
Yeah, like you. Okay, first of all, never tell the customer that you think your rep is an idiot. Never do that. That's terrible. That just disincentivizes me from working with you because now I feel like there's some background conversation that you're going to have about me.
Yeah.
No. Just ZoomInfo. That is terrible sales management. That's genuinely quite upsetting.
Honestly, when she sent that, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah. The funnier part is anyone who's watching this will just see my face fall the more you're reading.
I wasn't even looking at
I'm
it."
sitting there like,
I read that and I was like, damn.
damn,
Dude.
yeah,
That
that's
sucks.
tough. That's real tough.
That's
and I
real
bet you, because you didn't sign, he got bollocking in that review.
So I did a response. So I said, yes, been super swamped and haven't truly given thought to this that is needed to make a confident decision. I'll make a decision between staying with Cognizant or switching in the next week or so. Thanks, Dylan.
So, you know what? This is me being petty, right? And it's entirely unnecessary. I would have replied back and be like, no, they did a great job. I'm too busy. I am the problem here, not them.
That's
There's
what
no
I kind of
reason.
that's what I was kind of alluding to. It
Yeah,
was nothing about him. Yeah.
You should have jumped down and throat about it because that's just shitty management. Like, why? What benefit does that give you apart from on the off chance they have made a mistake? Yeah, fair enough, it does happen, right? Sometimes reps are stupid and they don't do their jobs properly. Fair enough, it does happen. But like, what do you expect the customer to do on the back end of that? Be like, oh yeah, the rep was a dick. You were right. Yeah, now I do want to work with you because you told me that they were being a dick and you're doing everything to help me. No, yeah, it stinks.
Yeah, no.
Nah,
And
it
then
stinks.
she responded saying, "Hey, Dylan, thanks for the note. We graduate teams from Cognizant every day, but I know there's always some hesitation going from a known evil to an unknown solution. I can speak to the superiority of ZoomInfo's data to Cognizant all day. But don't just take my word for it. In G2's Winter 2022 rank, ZoomInfo earned the top spot in 27 categories: lead capture, intelligence, market intelligence, with over 5,000 reviews at 4.5 average. It's clear to see why Zoom is the leader to an inferior Cognizant. Check out the most recent G2 grid below." And then she goes into case studies. We don't have to be 4x better than our other providers. We just have to make up that cost difference. And there's no doubt in my mind that we would do that and much more. This is a fraction of the cost to make another
Still
hire.
going?
Yeah, it's crazy long. Our customers see real impact, which is why we're 30 customers with 119% retention. People don't just stay with us, they buy more products and continue to build a scalable go-to-market strategy. I'm on my cell if you need anything or want to talk through it. I welcome your call or text. I feel like she's like a Harry Potter villain or something. She's like a known evil to an unknown solution. We are superior in every way. I was like, God damn, you better take over the Death Star or something, my bro. I'm just trying to fucking.
I'm just trying to get better data, bro. It's not that deep. But like,
I'm trying to
okay.
make better cold calls.
But like, so the language that they've used in that is really interesting because clearly the goal behind it is to be persuasive, right? It's to nudge you over the line where you hadn't made a decision yet. You've gotten back and said, hey, look, I haven't had the time. I'm making a decision on this. Like, essentially, don't sweat it. Leave me alone and you'll get there. And the response to that was to use this, like, overly, almost excessively powerful language to try and promote the sale. In reality, when did you, like, switch off in that email?
I switched off as soon as she shit on her own rep in the first email. And I only responded because they said they had a pipeline review call, and I've been the one reviewing pipeline and having my pipeline reviewed. So I was like, let me just give them like a note for their Salesforce. But like I was like, hey, like I'm still in the decision-making process. I just haven't had enough time. It's the end of Q4. I'm running a business. And then he said she came over here just like overzealous, like Napoleon complex. No, we are better than Cognizant.
Also, like worst trait in any like
she should have just asked, like, what are your biggest decisions in making? Like, what are the biggest
find out the decision criteria. Further the sale. Don't just sit and blow smoke up your own ass.
She doesn't even know what I care about. I don't give a fuck about 4,500 other people's reviews.
This is kind of what I was about to say, right? Like, I like to make corollaries between sales and dating because it's as stupid as it sounds. It's the same market, right? It's a different end consumer and different like goal, but it's the same market, right? You still have to essentially find some commonalities, find some issues, make a pitch. If they like you, they'll probably buy it. Same shit, right? Yeah. The worst thing you can do as anyone in the dating market is shit on another person who's going after the same person. At that point, no one punches downwards. Yeah, everyone tries to punch up, right? Yeah. So, like, no, shitty. Awful.
What it feels like to me is that they've been losing a lot of deals to Cognizant.
and this is the defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're like this. Yeah, but they suck. We're better. Yeah, gross. Just the whole thing sucks.
They're based in England. You want to work with an England person? We tied them in soccer, Dylan. But yeah, like it was just like, yeah. I was like, no. You might have a better product. I actually can guarantee they have a better product than Cognizant. Yeah. Like they have like intent day. They have all these cool things, and I'm like, that's really cool. But again, like I just don't want to work with them. I feel like if I have a problem, then I'd be like, we have 119% retention rate.
Oh dear. But I mean, this is the thing. Like, it goes back to the point you were saying. People buy from people they like. You probably won't buy ZoomInfo now because you've got.
I liked the rep. We were cool. It was a referral. Like I got an introduction to the rep. I didn't have to like have like an intro, even text. Like a super cool guy. We talked sports. Like, cool guy. I just honestly just dropped the ball in getting him an answer.
So let's pretend fantasy world, big boss didn't get involved, stayed way out of it. Would you probably have switched?
There's a high likelihood.
Okay, now percentage likelihood, infinitely lower.
Infinite. I don't even want him to respond. Like, I don't even want to respond to him.
If you really want to put the nail in the coffin, right? Again, this is me being petty. I'm super petty when it comes to dumb shit like this because it winds me up. Yeah. I would text the rep back at some point next week, be like, hey dude, decided to stick with Cognizant because your boss sent me a shitty email. Be like, you were great. I had a great experience with you. If I didn't get that shitty email from your boss, I probably would have bought it. But here we are. And then at that point, any time that she puts him in the firing line,
to her.
that's too much. Anytime that she puts him in the firing line, he can pull out his phone and be like, look.
Yeah.
Don't come for me about not closing deals. I'm doing fine. Then you micromanage me, and look what happened.
Yeah, and she sent me 2 case studies of like ridiculously different companies than us.
See, this is another thing. So I find this in call reviews a lot, right? People
it's a wildly templated email.
Huh?
I can tell it's templated.
Oh, so it's not even personalized. She's chucked your name in at the top, and then it's just the same email she sends to everyone.
So I think thanks to the note, we graduate teams from Cognizant, and then the rest of it is like
super generic.
Super generic.
Yeah, I was saying like I see this on call reviews a lot, right? When people try and make corollaries to other businesses they've worked with, that's all well and good, right? It's good that you have case studies. If those case studies are different to me, I don't care.
Don't care.
Like, why would it?
Actually makes it look like
it makes it
not
worse.
Good for you.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, oh, well, you work with companies like that. I'm not like that. So, fun psychology bit. This is because case studies work not because of social proof. There you go, right? That's what everyone says. Oh, case studies are social proof. No, they're not. Social proof is like we're trusted by 137 companies, right? That logic is other people think this is a good idea, therefore I should think this is a good idea. That's social proof. Case studies are built on the idea of the similar to me bias. So the similar to me bias says, well, because you're like me, therefore I should also do this because you're like me and you got a good result, right?
Yeah, that's why you should only use case studies in that same market when you do outreach. Yeah.
Correct. Bingo. Exactly that, right?
Yeah.
If let's say you're a Klaviyo like e-commerce shop, right?
Yeah.
If you're talking about a jewelry company and these people sell shoes, it's not that relevant, right?
Unless you deconstruct it.
Right. If you can then go into it and be like, oh, well, they have an AOV that is similar to yours and blah, 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 and you can get into the nitty-gritty, fair enough, fine. You get the benefit of the doubt. But by and large, use the same industry or market. Otherwise, you're not comparing apples to apples.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it makes them feel like, oh, maybe they're not for me. They only will get results for these types of companies. I'm not that type of company. Yeah. And you're like,
All right. Let's get on to the actual scheduled.
I think that was good because I'm stalling that sale. I'm the stall. And the reason why that thing stalled is because of the way in which I felt.
Yeah.
The product is great. The sales process was good. The rep did his job. He did discovery.
Yep.
I actually complimented him on his discovery. I said, great discovery. Literally verbatim. I said, great discovery, Alex. Like, this was great.
Oh, Alex is going to watch this and kick himself. He's going to have such a shit day.
He's honestly a good enough rep where he probably would go on like my YouTube and like try to pull something to do that.
Oh, but, Alex, mate, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't even like doing it. But fucking
the game is the game. Yep, the game is the game. Key skill in working in a bigger organization, learning to manage upwards. Your boss should not be hanging over your shoulder, micromanaging your deals. That is shitty.
Yeah.
How long was this sales process? Because if it was like 3 to 6 months, all right, maybe that kind of gives benefit of the doubt to the boss to come in and try and weasel this. But if it's anything less
also,
than 2
the
months,
subject line was update on her rep's name.
Yeah,
it wasn't even like
it.
It wasn't
I
even.
don't hate it.
When was the first message? It was less than a month.
Yeah, no bullshit. Get out of his fucking pants, bro. Like, it's so unnecessary for you to be involved at this point.
He probably put the op in his Salesforce like the first week of December.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable speed to micromanage. That is a criminal sales manager. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Dislike. Massive dislike. I have a massive problem with like sales management getting too involved in closing deals unless they are stuck in like the middle of the pipeline. Like yours, fair enough. But if they're there for like 2 months, then yes, bring in the big guns. 100%. It's useful. The best sales managers are good closers, right? And good AEs become great sales managers so long as they have management ability. Fine.
Also, if you're looking for a job, like these are the traits that you should be interviewing your future boss on.
100%.
I had a job where like the sales manager was promoted from marketing. Yeah, it was a startup. And like everyone on the team, he's like, yeah, I can hop on calls. Everyone's like, no, I don't think this open on your calendar. And you couldn't close the screen door, and like you got to make sure that your sales manager can do that.
Yeah, the best sales managers have to be able to close because if they can't, then they can't unstick deals. They don't know how to effectively coach you. It's just a shit show from start to finish.
And I'm a fan of having the higher level person like hop in.
Yeah,
but not in that way.
No. Never in that way. That was a train.
Like, hey, I spoke with blank's name. We're super excited to get you on board.
Yeah.
I don't do this all the time, but I wanted to see if there's anything that we could do to facilitate this, answer questions, hop on a call, and do things. Yeah.
Drive the sale in a positive way. Don't kick your boy and be like, he's shit. I'll deal with this. No, it's terrible. How would you do that? I hope the sales director is watching this, because then you realize what other people think of your shitty sales method.
We could just send it to her.
Yeah, let's do We should also reach out to all of the reps from the first couple of episodes. What was it? HubSpot, Gong, and Outreach, and be like, "Hey, we waited on you for 7 episodes."
Gong won that.
All right, fine. Then Outreach and Gong still follows up.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. I told you, my original prediction was right.
I literally thought Outreach was going to win. They were the dead last. They were the worst.
I thought HubSpot was worst.
They're both pretty bad, honestly. They're both pretty forgettable in their follow-up process. But,
all right.
Yeah. Why did
We've seen it like real life, right? We've seen the real life example of like why sales stall out. Why sales stall out, right? You were busy, and then the black swan event in the mind of the rep comes in, and something completely out of their control, completely unpredictable, which is you getting pissed off at like a shitty email that someone sends, kills that deal, right? Yeah. In reality, we can only really ever focus on stuff that's within our control. Because otherwise you're just worrying about, like, you know, the world ending instead of you being good at your job, and that's unhelpful for you getting better at sales. Like, what in your mind is... So I gave my, like, 3 reasons why sales stall out. Like, in your mind, does that track? Are there different ones? Like, what's the deal?
So I think it really just comes down to, like, not positioning to their needs and making the sale feel more about you than them.
Interesting. Okay, so it's that, like, that's the linchpin, or like that is the reason?
Yeah, like when you follow up, don't make it sound like you're following up for their fucking, like, for your quota attainment or your bonus.
Hey, I'm 10 grand off my bonus this year. Come on.
Yeah, like don't make it feel like they're a notch on your belt.
Yeah.
You know, like make them actually feel excited and special about the sale. And when you follow, like, first off, I think it all comes down to your note-taking ability, like closing deals. Yeah. Because if you write down, like, little important things that you'll always forget, like a holiday trip or, like, things in their personal lives, like, that's why you always should be rapport building throughout the call and just getting to know them as a human being and use those things. Like, I had a follow-up with a guy. He gave me a verbal. He used the quote-unquote, "You have me hook, line, and sinker."
Oh, all of those calls always stink because you know you don't.
No, I did. Oh,
you actually did?
It was a really good call. It was a referral. But he's on vacation. He wanted to start before the end of the year. So I essentially sent him a text saying, "Hey, hope you're enjoying the mountains in blank state. I know you're super busy. Is this still something that we wanted to get started so we can get a head start on 2023 because our team will then do all the heavy lifting? You can enjoy your vacation."
Yep, nice.
He just gave me a thumbs up thing on iMessage. He didn't even respond. He's on vacation.
He's on holiday, yeah.
But like understanding your needs, not just like, "Hey man, what are the follow up in the contract?"
Yeah, legit. Like, so I had someone close, I think the day before their wedding, right? So we had the first call probably like a week and a half before their wedding. And he was like, "Yeah, dude, it's good. Like, I want to do this. 100% I'm down. But I'm not going to lie to you. My wedding is like next Friday. So I'm not really trying to make any decisions before then. I've got too much on my plate, blah, 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 blah." My first question, and it was 100% a cheeky question I probably shouldn't have asked. He's like, "Oh, like, how much work are you doing for the wedding?" And he paused and he was like, "Nothing. My wife and my mother-in-law doing everything. I haven't done shit." And I was like, "All right, fair enough. I'm assuming there's just a lot of pressure on you right now." And he's like, "Yeah. Like, I just don't want to think about anything right now." And I was like, "All right, fair enough. Well, I tell you what. Why don't we leave it until after the wedding? Are you going on honeymoon?" He was like, No. Like, no honeymoon, I'm just back to work." And I was like, "All right, cool, fair enough. So why don't we schedule it for the Monday after you get back, maybe even the Tuesday after, because the hangover on Monday is probably going to be horrendous." And he was like, "Yeah, all right, let's do that." And I was like, "Cool. What I'm going to do is either way, I'm going to send over the contract. And if it gets to a couple of days before the wedding and you're kind of like chomping at the bit to do it anyway, and then we'll go from there," right? I think the day before his wedding rolls around, and I literally dropped him an email. I was like, "Hope everything goes well tomorrow. Let me know what the deal is for Tuesday." And he signed. Because you followed up on shit that matters to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Not because you were like, "Oh, can you
Yeah, you made it make logical sense.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason I'm asking you to do this is because you told me that this is an important thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And then they're like, "I did say it was important. It is pretty important. Thanks for making me realize it." And And like, it's such an easy thing.
Yeah.
Like to sign a contract nowadays. It's not like they have to print it out and sign it and scan it and send it back.
To you, yeah.
Fax it back, yeah. Hi, bud. But yeah.
You know what? He's been so much calmer than I thought he would be this whole time. We've had one bark. I'm impressed.
You're a good boy, aren't you, buddy? But yeah, speaking of him, being persistent is another reason why deals stall. Like, people are afraid to be persistent.
Yeah. Equally,
Like, everyone's like, "Oh, I followed up 3 times. I don't want to bother them."
No.
Like, fuck that. Keep it up.
Going. Yeah.
Keep it going.
The issue is when people get too overzealous with follow-ups, and there's too many in too short a space of time. Because now you're annoying. There's a difference between persistence and annoyance, in my mind at least, right?
And use like ulterior touch points that aren't annoying.
Yeah.
Like their posts, subscribe to them on Twitter, like subconsciously remind them. No, like the post notifications, little bell,
Winding you up.
Yeah. But like, I literally, perfect example, in this exact call, a guy got back to me that's been pending because I liked and retweeted like 6 of his last things.
Just all at once? You're like
No. Like, in the course of the last like 5 days, I turn on my notifications.
Yeah.
Boop, pops up, like, cool. Takes me 6.5 seconds. I click it, I swipe up, I like and I retweet it, and I comment something that's actually legit.
Yeah.
And then the guy DM'd me saying, "Hey man, sorry I haven't gotten back to you. X, Y, and Z have been holding me back." Cool. I didn't text him a bunch or call him 19 times. Yeah. So like, you can still be top of mind without being obnoxious.
100%. So when I think about like sales stalling out, especially if you only had one call, right?
Yeah.
So like, I was speaking to someone last week and they were like, "Oh yeah, we do fine on the discovery call, but sometimes we like have a demo booked in, we booked it in on the first call, and then, they decline the demo and ghost." And I'm like, well, discovery call didn't go that well then, did it? Because in reality, if it did, they'd have turned up to the demo. But they're clearly not interested enough. You haven't developed enough pain that they feel like a second call is worth it, let alone that the deal is worth it. This looks important. You've got your concentration face on.
No. I just have to respond on one thing real quick. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, continue.
I think the reality is, if someone's declining your demo calls before you've even gotten there, it's because you didn't do a good enough job on the discovery. Like, that's the only reason that happens. Or they've literally bought the thing that you were trying to sell them in the interim period.
That is, yep. Like, because you didn't identify their real needs.
Yeah, or you didn't identify competitors. You didn't identify other options.
Yeah.
You had no idea that this thing was looming on the horizon, and you were like, "Oh, great! I got a demo call. I'm set up for the layup." No, you're not. You're about to get kneecapped because they had a deal on the finish line and you didn't know about it.
Yeah, like you had a chance to come in and steal the deal, but you didn't. You didn't. Because a lot of salespeople, I feel like they just I have another opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, you really don't. That's like the one sad thing about sales is like you really only have one chance.
It's the equivalent of like the second free throw. The second free throw, like, in your mind, should not exist. That's a bonus point that you get if you make the first one.
Yeah.
You get one free throw. Make that one. That's the only one you have to care about. At least then, worst case scenario, you're 50% the way there, right?
Yeah.
But if you miss the first one and then go, "Oh, it's fine, I've got another one," no, that doesn't count. That's a bonus point. It's like make-believe points.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a true point. It's like, you need to crush the discovery call. It's really just the most important thing of any sales process.
Yeah.
Is the discovery.
Like, I was doing a call review today, actually, and like, I've worked with this guy for a while. Like, he's honestly, he's a good closer. Like, he knows it inside out. And I don't know whether this was like his first ever call on this new offer, or like whether he, like, just woke up with his brain inside out. But I genuinely have written at the top of the sheet that I was like writing my notes on, just like an F and a circle around it. Like, it was just fucking terrible. Like, 7 minutes in, he's pitching. like what? Hang on, you pull out these notes, right? So this is a useful exercise. FYI, I am so critical when I like review calls. I'm like fine liner over every word and phrase you've said. Why did you say this? This is dumb. Don't do this, right? So I'm gonna just read these notes out, and you tell me without even seeing again with the concentration face. You're a busy boy today.
Yeah, it's like dude. All these people have messaged me right now, and I'm a nut job. But yeah, you're underlining every single word. You were like, why did he fuck it up?
So I'm gonna read these notes, and you tell me why you think he fucked it up.
All right.
Okay. So, guy came on immediately, like tried to power frame him. He was like, yeah, great. So like, we want to find out what you do. Dude just breezed past it, just straight up ignored it, and just kept on going. I was like, great, really well done. Don't ever bow to that. That's the correct response. Missed opportunities to dig into pain points. You're pitching 7 minutes in. You've not developed pain points. They have no reason to change. The pitch is so dense. You're not using anything you learned in sales psych. You lost frame at minute 12. You start getting grilled. You have no idea what psychological profile this guy is. No commitment before offering a case study. No speed. Asking for permission to set up a second call. A couple of weeks was their response in like timeline. Why do you think the call stalled out?
Because because 7 minutes in, he's talking about him.
Correct. That was my biggest takeaway. Why are you pitching so early?
Yeah. I'm assuming he pitched that way because the guy started the call off that way. And subconsciously, he was like, all right, like...
I'm done with my questions. I guess I have to tell you about me now.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the tough part of like getting on sales calls with someone who does come in with a power frame. So have you read Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff?
It's right over there.
There you go. Right, I would say that's recommended reading. Stand Up Sales recommended reading list coming soon. But like,
I have his other book. Have you read this one? Flip the Script.
No, I haven't.
It's on my list. I'm curious. It's his second book.
I haven't read that one. But like classic power frame, as soon as that happens, if that even like gets you a little bit off kilter, the likelihood is you'll forget everything you're meant to do and just go back to default, which is pitch.
Yeah, going back to default is like the worst thing. Yeah. In everything. Not just sales, yeah. Like you will rise to the level of your programming.
Mm-hmm. Or fall to the level of your programming.
Yeah, you'll fall in love with your programming. That's the terminology. That's why you got to practice. Like, there's really no sex. Like, sales is not sexy. It's just like process driven and you being an actual follower of the correct process. And obviously, like, using your innate abilities and curiosity and tonality and all that stuff. But, like, at the end of the day, it's like if you follow this framework and do the things correctly and hold frame and do discovery and have a good demo, like, you're going to fall on the right side of the fence more often.
See, I think when people like us say, like, follow the right process, people immediately think, oh, so there's a script I have to learn, and then if I learn the script, I'm doing the right thing. And it becomes a box-ticking exercise. And at that point, all of your own, like, little secret sauce that you have that makes you a good salesperson goes through the fucking floor.
Yeah, it's a framework in which you put the guts into it. Every human being has a spine and a rib cage and a femur and a skull, right? But like everyone looks different and there's different things inside of their framework, right? So like you need to have the correct things inside your framework, but every human being walks, right, bipedally. So like you need to create a framework that's going to allow you to operate, and then depending on the offer and depending on kind of the sales process, one call, two call, whatever it is, then you input the things into that framework. So yes, it's definitely not a script.
Yeah. As soon as anyone says, can you review my sales script? I'm like, we got some work to do. You shouldn't have a script. So that's
Let me reveal the framework that makes you have a script. And you can have a script for a cold call.
Yes. Cold calls, I actually do agree with you. I think you probably should have a script because most people are fundamentally uncomfortable with cold calling anyway. Yeah,
but you can never read a script. You can't read a script. It's like any professional like speaker. They write down what they're going to say, but you don't say the exact words on the sheet. Yeah, it's an exercise. Creating a script is an exercise in which you're able to convolute a conversation into paper. Like, this is what I'm going to say generally in this situation, and this situation, and this situation. I'm going to practice all of these words so I'm knowledgeable in a real life situation. If someone throws in a curveball or your dog throws up behind you, like, you remember it, right? It's second nature because you've practiced and you said the same types of things over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. That's the purpose of a script, is to cement the information in your brain. So, like, in the conversation, when they say this thing, you're like, you just go to your default, which is these are the things that I know to talk about in this situation. Not like, oh, hold on, let me look at my Google sheet. They said Control F pricing injection. Like, you can't rely on the script.
I was actually a buyer on a sales call, and I could see the guy's eyes like flicking to the side like every couple of seconds. Like, every time I said something, his eyes would like go to his other screen, and I'm like, he's 100% looking for what I'm saying in this script. And I literally stopped at one point, and I was like, you need 2 minutes? And he was like, no, why? And I was like, you're reading a script. You may as well go and have a look through it and familiarize yourself before we continue. He's like, oh, dude, is it that obvious? I was like, yes. Stop looking over there. If you're going to do it, have them side by side. Have the windows next to each other. At least then you're looking in the same direction. He was like, dude, that's so good. And I was like, no, it's not. It's a fix for a bad process.
Yeah, exactly. The script, it's like crutches.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
Or it's like, if we're going to make a better analogy, it's like using like a back belt.
A back brace, yeah.
At the gym.
Yeah.
It works, but it doesn't strengthen your muscles. If anything, it makes your muscles weaker around your back.
Because now they get lazy.
Yeah, they get
lazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of gone through why sales stall out at a high level. What specifically people kind of like, people don't like you, so they don't buy because people don't want to buy from assholes. I think one of the big ones that I find, and I find this in my own calls as well, is that sometimes you can do all of the right things, but you have to go down almost line by line through what you've said and what you've missed to find out why it's stalled out, right? Like, you might have missed something that they said that would have actually been a more interesting line of questioning than the one you took, for example, right? Yeah. So the one thing, like, I review the lead hawks closes, like, we have a meeting once a week, and like most oftentimes we'll just go through someone's like call reviews. And the one thing I realized is, like, call reviews are really helpful, but telling people what they did wrong is basically useless. Because then they know all the bad stuff, and that's going to clog up their brain, and now all they're thinking about is all the times they fucked up, so that's kind of useless. But also, like, spending more time on reviewing, like, good stuff and useful things they did helps cement that in their brain, so they know that they should do that again and again and again. That's the first thing. The second thing is, like, when I'm getting the guys to review their calls, the goal is not to, like, go through with a fine-tooth comb and tell me where you went wrong. What I want you to do in that instance is be like, okay, now that I've heard this information a second time, where do I go now? What should I have asked? What questions should I have dug into so that I got different answers from the ones that actually happened on this call, right? You basically get a redo. It's like, you know, when you're a kid, you ever play like racing games where they've got like the ghost car and you like try and beat the ghost car? It's the same thing, right? Yeah. If you can do that and be like, okay, now I've got this information a second time, would I ask the same question? Actually, no, I'd probably ask this question instead. You're just giving neural pathways more opportunity to expand. And that is a way more useful, like, in my mind at least, use of a call review than being like, you didn't do this part right. This part you messed up on. This is dumb. Don't do this again. Like, that's not helpful. They're not.
You think that's how the Zoom info was?
I think your boy just got shouted at. Poor Alex. I think you just got shouted at for half an hour. Why isn't this call closed? Why isn't this call closed? Where's this in the pipeline? Why are these notes shit?
We are superior. We are superior.
How much mindset training do you think they do at Zoom Info? You think it's just them, like, shouting each other?
They do brainwashing, probably. Like, remake this G2 Gantt chart. The magic quadrant. Where are we? You have to point out where your competitors are lower than us.
I struggled not to spit that water out that whole time. Okay, so in summary, then I guess, if people are trying to avoid, actually, final point. Let's say contract out. Yep, contract out is always a good thing. Thank you, dog. Contract out, waiting on signage, you get nothing. 3 days goes by, no movement. 5 days goes by, no movement. What do you do? Because I feel like that's a really useful thing that no one really talks about.
Yeah. I mean, use the channels in which you originally spoke with that person, right? Like, I think that's a big thing that people waste time on, is like they're kind of shy away from like them rejecting the contract. So they're trying to like softly do a good follow-up without like pissing them off till they lose the deal. Because everyone's like, it's like a very delicate situation. It's like, oh yeah, follow me an email. We've never emailed him. Like there was a text conversation, like just like the text or do an actual text follow-up. And be like, hey, like what needs to be done? Like what needs to be done to get this signed? Like, like what do you, like how can I help facilitate this transaction being completed? Don't just follow up to bump, like actually understand. And then use information from the past that you did in discovery and demo, and understand the reason why they even asked you to send the fucking contract. Revert and reiterate, regurgitate exactly what they said. Hey, John, you said that this was a problem. We need to get this problem fixed because you told me that this is the actual problem, the cost, the opportunity cost for not moving forward with our solution.
There you go.
Yeah, or illuminate something. Illuminate the issue again.
Yeah. My my like they didn't sign.
Or just make a comment on PandaDoc.
Yeah, you don't even need to do that. Just send a reminder through PandaDoc. There's literally a button that says send reminder. Just press it. That's like my first action at all points. Give it like a day and a half. Ding. It's up. And they literally get an email being like, please sign this contract. It's doing it for you. It's like the most low touch version. Yeah. And then it's just like a series of emails or texts.
Yeah.
All right.
So actually another IMI. So I had a guy, he saw a Twitter ad. Yeah. He came in. He wanted us to do email and LinkedIn outreach and find a larger total addressable market for him. He does local advertising on billboards and TV spots. Great call, good discovery, found out pain points. He's a one-man band, needed help. It's the lowest ticket offer that we have. So he tells me, yeah, Dylan, sign the contract. Let's get started today so we can get a good jump on January. I was like, perfect, awesome.
Great.
So on the call, I spun up the PandaDoc. It was already open, obviously. Yeah. And I sent it over to him. I sent it in the Zoom chat. He clicked it, and I watched him fill out the information on PandaDoc. He signed it. And as soon as he signed it, and it prompted to Stripe payment, I guess, he was mid-sentence, and the Zoom cut off. He lost from the call. He left the call. We were going back and forth on text before the conversation. So I texted him, going, hey, man, I think you left Zoom. And then no response. I stayed on Zoom. And it's signed. The contract is signed. It's at awaiting payment status. And he has not gotten back to me. I've texted him like probably 9 times at this point. Weirdest situation of all time. Like,
dude, I had something really similar.
As soon as he signed it, he just ghosted.
So I had that happen where the guy literally had the contract, it's viewed, it's ready, and like I'm like, all right, cool. So just like get that filled in. There's a Stripe link at the end of it, or where we go. Like cool. Literally, as soon as he says cool, cuts, like drops off the call. His business partner's still on there, and I was like, what? Where'd your boy go? He was like, oh, I don't know. Shit, let me text him. Text him. Apparently his router went off, and I'm like, oh, fair enough. That's like a reasonable. Whatever.
Yeah.
Literally, like 2 minutes later, business partner also drops, and I was like, they ain't signing this contract. No shot. There is no way. They had buyer's remorse the minute that they agreed to have this sent over. They ain't coming back. That's it. That's done. And I emailed them afterwards because they declined the follow up that we had on like I think it was scheduled for today. And I was like, not interested in moving forward? ? That was it. And I was like, no, that one you got to chalk that one up to an L. There's no saving that one.
I've never seen. I mean, that's okay. They didn't sign it. This guy signed it. He signed it. He filled in all his information. He signed it. And mid sentence, it's like he had his finger on the stop button or the leave meeting button, and he was like, "Yeah, that's it."
Yeet.
It's like he's breaking up, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going in and out of cell service, Dylan. I'm going in and out of cell service." I was like, "What the hell just happened?" Because one call closes don't normally happen in our situation. And I was like, "Cool, one call closed, Twitter IC, dude." Like,
Yeah.
and I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, he's gone.
So next step is I know he lives in Atlanta, so I'm just gonna buy an Atlanta area code on Twilio, and I'm just gonna start calling and texting from an Atlanta area code.
I genuinely thought you were gonna say, "Fuck it, buy the flight."
Not for that ticket price. But yeah, no, I mean, like, it's a good example of just like people are weird at the end of the day. Sometimes you could be likable, you could do a good discovery.
The whole thing. Yeah.
They could ask, they could facilitate the contract being sent, they could sign the actual contract, and sometimes it doesn't fall your way. And that's where like sales mindset comes in. It's like
Game is a game.
there's more people to talk to.
Next person.
Yeah,
All right.
take someone to chin.
Sales
good call.
episode 7.
We will see you on episode 8, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Luego.